Planet 47. The time of the elected government on Earth is long gone. Large corporations now have the control. Their only goals are to earn even more money. The Earth's resources have been used up, but they found a solution for that problem. They started to explore the space, and they found a planet with a new kind of resource which can be used as new effective kind of energy. They called this planet just Planet 27. On the planet there was no intelligent life, only insect-like creatures. So it looked like that it should be easy for them to collect all the new kind of resources off this planet and his moon. But they deceived themselves.
Hello and welcome, guys and gals, to Ashes Bashes Gaming, your destination for discovering new and exciting games. Today on your screens we have Planet 27, which is a sci-fi real-time strategy game made by just one developer. Yes, you heard me right, just one guy. And it's currently in pre-alpha, so I am pretty impressed by what he has made by now. Let's jump right into it. So this is the mission select screen, and he has released 3 missions in this demo. I'll be showing you the second and the third ones in this video.
Hello, Commander. We have found a good landing point with sufficient resources that is well suited to build a base. Collect all the resources on the map to win.
So the start is fairly simple. Basically, there are resources in the forms of crystals which your workers collect.
Commander, first expand your external base. Build the following buildings with the help of the workers. A drop-off point for the crystals, some turrets, a generator. Only now start building new resources from as this will attract new monsters. Call for new units with the help of the red general, some workers, some soldiers, a doctor.
So you have to set up a resource gathering building and then collect the resources from around you. Now in this map, where you are dropped is not where all the crystals are. So I'm going to set up a resource collection point here and collect the resources in.
Some news, Commander. There was a crash 2 of our spaceships near you. We were able to locate one, the other you must look for. The survivors are very important to us. For everyone left at the end of the round, you will receive a bonus of 500 crystals.
Now they recommend me to build up turrets here, but I find it completely unnecessary. So I'm just going to bring in more workers and help speed up the resource collection from this point early on. Also with my extra troops, I'm going to go for that survivor crash site and clear it out, because I mean the 500 crystals per survivor is pretty good amount. This game features a unique unit called the Commander, who is basically like your common soldier, but then he can call in reinforcements of other soldiers, heavy soldiers, a doctor, and even workers. So he's essential throughout the game, and if at times you're feeling that you might lose him, I would recommend calling in an extra commander. Yes, I mean the commander calls in an extra commander too. I have left some troops here because this site constantly gets attacked. The basic mechanic is that somehow these insects are attracted to our collection sites, because as and when we collect the crystals, it gives off some kind of vapor or vibration or something which basically attracts all the insects to it. So we have begun our great migration, kind of like civilizations of the old, migrating from one spot to another. And as we go along, there are insects attacking us, but they are generally not a problem. Now this game also features the attack move, which I highly recommend you use, because it actually helps you actually reduces the amount of micromanagement that you need to do. So we have reached the site of our new base just in time for the red moon. What is the red moon? It is basically a time of the planet where monsters do double the amount of damage while we do half the amount of damage. So the game is very unique in this aspect that each planet or each map has different environmental effects which would affect the combat mechanism. Now one thing I noticed was that every construction site or even a resource gathering point can accommodate only 4 workers at any given point of time. So if you have more than 4 workers, it would be good to micromanage them and actually spread them out. Right now, what I'm doing is I am setting up generators which power the turrets. Now, any generator can has I mean any generator has an area of effect, and it powers any and every turret in its radius. So you don't need to worry about drilling deeper down into another aspect of power. You just need to place them correctly. Now there are 4 defense buildings in this demo, and the first 3 are freely available, while you need to unlock the last one. And you unlock it with these crystals that you collect in game. So basically, how much ever you collect and how much ever you use, the difference left with you is what you can invest in unlocking different technologies and different buildings. So you should be prudent with how you invest it. Now, for the basic ground enemies, there is the basic uh, minigun turret, which I have found to be very effective, though there are slight delays in the time of their rotation and target selection. But it is the best building that I have noticed. And for aerial enemies, there is the air defense turret, which at times I have noticed glitches out and doesn't aim properly, or doesn't lock onto their targets. But otherwise, it is pretty effective. And though I would suggest that you make 1 or 2 laser defense buildings, laser turrets, they are not that effective and are actually only effective against bigger, larger enemies. Most of the enemies that I have encountered in the demo are small ones, so the laser turrets are not very effective against them. Another thing you will notice that I have done is first set up all the defense buildings before starting resource gathering. This is because once you start gathering resources, that's when the enemies start coming at you, and that's how the mechanic of this game works. While I've sent some troops to collect the survivors from the second crash site, I have also set up an artillery defense building right in the middle of my camp. So this building has a huge range and does really high damage, but has a low rate of fire. Now this would help me, protect all angles, and I would recommend you always build one artillery building right in the middle. This is an unlockable building, and I have already unlocked it, so I can show it to you. Now the number of technologies and buildings you can unlock or purchase at your home ship is very limited, but that's understandable since this game is actually in pre-alpha right now. Now this one developer called Sven Ran, that's his name, and I'm sorry if I've mispronounced it, is has released this demo for us to playtest and actually giving feedback, so that he can go about creating the rest of the game and fine tune the edges. So as a starting concept, I think he's done a very fine job. He's taken the normal RTS genre and added his sci-fi elements, and made it unique with the universe setting of an earth led by power-hungry corporations who have invaded a planet filled with bugs to mine off resources. Now, if we know anything from Starship Troopers, it's that this never turns out well. Though the game is not focused on enemy scale and number or even sizes as Starship Troopers is, but is more, the enemy sizes and enemy waves are more along the lines of a normal Age of Empires game. Now, in this map, I noticed that you don't really have to venture out a lot, and you can just build up your defenses and stay put. And I think that is precisely why he has made those 2 spaceship crash survivors, which you need to go out and rescue. Also, there are these nifty buttons at the side which help take you to the next idle worker or the next commander or the next fight that is happening, which is good for you to quickly move around to areas of interest. Now, the graphics of this game are not over the top, but it's still pretty impressive considering that this was made by just one developer. And I also really like the music, the soundtrack of actual that battle hype soundtrack at the back keeps the pace going and even changes along with when there are enemy presence on screen. Now, along with your worker, soldier, and commander, the other unit available is the doctor, who is basically your healer. Thankfully, you don't need to constantly select and uh, mention who to heal. The healer works mostly automatically. Now, another module which I had to unlock was the auto repair for buildings. Now, the buildings can be repaired with a worker, but it's best if it's auto repaired because it really reduces the amount of micromanagement that you need to do. And that's definitely one of the first modules that I would recommend people unlock. I've taken my soldiers up the top path to fight and hunt out these big beasties. Now, the developer has very cunningly placed them here because this road is the shortest distance you would take if you would move from where we were actually dropped in to this main site. So that's why you would notice I had actually gone around this road and not used this because walking through these big guys was suicide. So I've just come at the end to settle the score and show you that there are huge enemies like this too, which the game has incorporated. Also, another thing that you will notice in the middle top is the population counter. Now, every game I've noticed that it is capped to 25, so that's the limit of humans that you can harbor or sustain on the map, while the number of buildings have no limit, and none that I have noticed at least. Before we head on to the next map, I'd like to show you the different modules available in the demo for unlocking. The first is the artillery tower, which you have already seen. Then is the raid bomber, which I have not really used. And there is a bunker, which also doubles as the radar. And there is also heavy infantry, which are tanks basically. And lastly, the building repair module, which I had told you about. This is the most important upgrade that I would suggest you get.
Hello, Commander. We have found a good landing point that is good for building a first line of defense. After that, supply the factories with electricity and workers. Produce 6,000 crystals to win.
In this map, the mechanic is different. You don't need to collect crystals, but there are factories where you can produce them.
Commander, at first build a defense line with some turrets and a generator. You can get new resources with the help of the factories. Build a generator near the factory. Send workers to the factory by selecting them and right-click on the factory. You should always keep some resources free for a generator and additional workers to use the factory to collect new resources.
So there is this bottleneck through which most of the enemies will be approaching. So I've got to quickly set up my defenses in front here. I'm also going to keep my troops here. And it took me some time to realize, but enemies do attack from the back too. So I have found a workaround for that. Now, initially, whenever I used to place buildings at the back, it somehow would not work out. So I've used heavy troopers, as you will see going ahead, to cover my flanks. Now, let me tell you something about the heavy troopers. They are basically the advanced version of your normal soldiers. Though in this game, for all means and purposes, at least in the demo, I would say they are tanks. Those guys have massive firepower and massive amounts of health. If you couple them with a doctor, then there is nothing to worry about, to be honest. I mean, that's your mobile line of defense. I have taken an additional crew of workers. I'm calling 4 workers a crew because somehow everything is manned by, every activity is capped to having only 4 workers to it. So anyway, I have taken an additional crew because I would be prioritizing building up the defense while I also need a high rate of resource production. So I am keeping two crews of workers in the factories to quickly start producing resources, while I can safely set up defenses on the other hand without having to compromise on any one front. Now I appreciate that my soldiers also have a defense mode where basically they hold their ground and only attack at beasts or insects who are attacking them or in their range. I mean, that's very much appreciated because these guys are like really aggressive jocks. As soon as they see anybody coming, they go right in front. I mean, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to stay behind the line of defense and self healing buildings. But our dudes want to be on the forefront and take every fight to the enemy. So I really appreciate that the developer has, paid attention to these nitty gritty details too, and added these troop orders. So I am also building the bunker in the middle as a fallback position in case things go out of hand. uh, you'll also notice that I am always keeping my commander out of harm's way. Keep him at the back. He's needed to coordinate everything, and basically if he gets knocked out and you don't have a spare commander in the wings, then I'm sorry to say, I mean, that's as good as game over for you. Another glitch that I noticed would be that many times the heavy troopers who are brought in do not actually show up on your screens, though they are there. You need to select that area select that area to and get them to slightly move to actually detect them. So I'm sure this is a temporary setback, and with further updates, this is definitely going to be fixed. Like any other RTS game, this game is also about how efficiently you use your resource as well as your manpower. Prioritizing which building to build at what point of time is basically what is the deal clincher, and this would change scenario to scenario, map to map. Now over here I made a mistake. I made the laser turrets instead of the air defense turrets, and I think that's because they look actually pretty similar. You'll also notice that I have invested a lot of building and manpower in this front region, whereas my flanks are protected simply by my tanks. I mean, those heavy troopers are really overpowering. Also, you will notice that this map has a different environmental effect of the desert storm. What this does is that it damages units and buildings as well as reduce the damage output of our bullets. We mostly seem set here, so I will just call in two more doctors and reach my population cap. I'm going to use those doctors on my flanks to give provide healing to my tanks or heavy troopers. Also, you will notice that these regular dust storms cause a repair button above buildings. So that's the auto repair work happening, and I will stress this again. I have found that module to be the most important, the most useful module. So that was all about this game, and I am going to leave the link to the free demo in the description below so that you can also check it out. If you enjoyed this video, then definitely smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel so that you can discover new and exciting games daily. This is Ashes Bashes signing out. Until next video, game on.